Coming out of Babylon. What does that mean? How do we achieve this? Are there examples in the Bible? Now, to start off, let's give you a little bit of history. What's the origin of Babylon? Well, it's Satan, the devil. It began with Nimrod after the flood in 2300 BC, building the Tower of Babel. Babel meant the gate of God. And it was one language then, one people, powerful. And Nimrod wanted to break through to heaven. God then confused the languages. Babel became confusion, scattered men to the face of the earth, and Nimrod's rebellion, his quest for world power, was broken. And you know who came out of that system? A hero of faith, Abraham. So then you can go, that was in the area of Shinar, Iraq today. Years later, the vision of Daniel 2, which reveals Nebuchadnezzar's dream, Babylon. This is at 605 BC. Nebuchadnezzar, he took the throne, ruling Babylon as the head of gold. Now, who wanted it? Satan. It's in Isaiah 14:13. It says, "You, Satan, said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven." Didn't Nimrod try that? "I will exalt my throne above the stars." Now, what are stars in the Bible? Angels. The beast system conquered nations, took captives. This is what Babylon did. The world has never seen this before as an empire. Set governors, demanded tribute. Oh, they let them rule there in Judah. It was the first empire to build house to house. Does that sound a little familiar? What neighborhood do you live in? How far is your neighbor? It started in Babylon. I have a verse in Isaiah 5:8. "Woe to those who join house to house, who lay field to field until there is no place." Now, what hero of faith came out of that? Daniel. Now, they were conquered. Cyrus the Great. This was the arms in the chest. This is Persia. They expanded the model. Each one expands. Now note that. Allowing local rule and worship, but requiring taxes and obedience through royal decrees, and they upped it to 25%. Taxes and levies. And you know who came out of this time? Was Ezra and Nehemiah. They were delivered grace. Now, the next part of the Daniel 2, the vision, we have the bronze. This is the stomach and the thighs. This is Alexander the Great. You need to know your history of the Bible. And it says they replaced force with influence. They spread culture, didn't they? Philosophy. They had language, and while still collecting tribute from subjects, but they upped it to 30%. 25 to 30% just keeps going up, right? Isn't that what man's governments do? The Maccabees, this is after Malachi, the last prophet, died. They came out of it. There were those in the church during the Maccabees. They had to come out of the system of bronze. And then Jesus' time, the 12 apostles. We're looking at Rome. These are the legs. And it was built of iron. It was the strongest and final one to the toes. Now, they perfected it through many laws, military might, enforcing loyalty to Caesar. Remember Jesus said, give on to God and then give on to Caesar? And controlling both economy and religion. Now, notice they upped it to 30 to 40%. This is what they do. I looked it up because Jesus came out of this system. He was a carpenter. And if he made $1,000 on some table or something he made and sold it, when he sold it, he was taxed roughly 7%, which is much lower than the America iron mixed with clay system of slavery that we got to come out of. But then he was hit with other taxes. and they would total around 30 to 40%. Ours starts at 35% and goes up. And we have a list of house tax, even funeral tax, inheritance tax. The system is rigged, brethren. How do we come out of Babylon? Are you really free? What's the answer? Now, each empire here is really one, but the divisions begin with chains. They put you in chains in the beginning. Then they set you free, they say. Then rule you with economic, political, and religious control. Now they make slavery appear as its freedom. And that's what Satan does. Now, let's go to Revelation 18. This is coming out of Babylon. And let's begin in verse 1. This is an inset chapter of the fate of Babylon. And verse 1, and after these things I saw an angel descending from heaven, having great authority, and the earth was illuminated with the angel's glory. Stars are angels. And he cried out mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become a habitation of demons. Now, this is a prophetic future. This is the destiny where Satan and the demons will live in a prison of every unclean spirit and every prison of every unclean and hated bird. Yeah, there's bird demons. And they're all going to be in prison here because Jesus said that he made hellfire for the angels that rebelled. And once they all burn the physical, they are left with outer darkness and they're stuck. So this is the fate of this mindset of Babylon. Now we have verse 3, because all nations, notice all, have drunk of the wine of the fury of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the power of her luxury. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her. That's the sermon. Come out of her, my people. That's God's people. And that you do not receive of her plagues. Now, how could some of God's people receive the plagues? That's the wrath of God. We're talking about 7 trumpets and 7 vial plagues. How can that happen? Well, we know that's revealed in Revelation 22:18. Who is Revelation written to? The 7 candlesticks, the church, not the world. And it says to them at the end, if you add anything to this book, then you will experience the plagues written in this book. So you got to be very careful. God can always reboot. Remember, he rebooted saints. When Jesus died, saints arose. Now, for more insight, let's go to Revelation 16. This is the 7th vial plague. Verse 17. Then the 7th angel poured out his vial into the air, and a loud voice came out of the temple of heaven from the throne saying, it is finished. This is when Babylon gets destroyed. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake such as was not since men were on the earth. So mighty an earthquake and so great. And the great city, look at that, Babylon, was divided. Now, when you look up this word divided, it means done. Okay, destroyed. Notice this, into 3 parts. Isn't that amazing? 3 parts of Babylon? What are the 3 parts? It's the head of gold. It's the government. It is the religion. And you're going to see that in her middle name. And the last one is the people. We the people. They kept fine-tuning that one until the last. And the cities of the nations fell. And Babylon the Great was remembered before God to give her the cup of the wine of the fury of his wrath. This happens on the day of trumpets. God allows you who came out of Babylon to have vengeance with him to take Babylon down. Isn't that awesome? So it's in God's timing. Now, when you read the Bible, you go to chapter 17, and it tells you how. So let's go to chapter 17, and let's begin in verse 3. Then he carried me away in the spirit to a wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting upon a scarlet beast that had 7 heads. And people go, 7 heads, what are these? And 10 horns. Well, we know the 7 heads, if you read Revelation 13:1, and all of that area, it tells you the head is, we know, we have the lion, Babylon. Then we have the second one, the bear, Persia. Then we have Greece, that is 4 heads, 4 divisions, 4 leopards. So you counting, that's 6. Then the final one, Rome, making 7. It says, I saw a woman sitting upon a scarlet beast that had 7 heads and 10 horns, full of the names of blasphemy. This is 666. In the middle of her forehead, remember that's where 666 is, or on your hand, right? Wouldn't she have the name 666? Of course. So she has it right in her forehead, and this is gold, brethren. Listen up. You want to know how to come out of Babylon? You want to know? You come out of these 3 names. I'm going to read the 3 names, then we'll dissect them. And the woman was clothed in purple and scarlet and was adorned with gold and pearls and precious stones. And she had a golden cup in her hand. Woo, what's this cup? It's a counterfeit cup, filled with abominations and the filthiness of her fornication. Do you remember a cup with the last king of Babylon, Belshazzar? He took the cups of God from the temple, the golden cup, and he did blasphemy with it. You ever make this connection? You ready for a golden nugget? The quote, Daniel 5:4, Belshazzar drank wine and praised the gods, notice, of gold, that's Babylon, of silver, that's Persia, of bronze, we know who that is, Greece, of iron, that's Rome, right? Then it names we the people, the wood, and of stone. Didn't Jesus say I can raise up stones? Stones are people. Wood are people. It just named the whole image. And they all have their own deities. This is what we have to come out of. So she, the great whore, is drinking, and she loves this image. Let's continue with verse 4. Filled with abominations and the filthiness of her fornication. Now, here's the 3 names. Here's what we have to come out of. And across her forehead, a name was written. Here's the first one, Mystery Babylon. Now, the counterfeit, this is what it is. The real one is the mystery of the kingdom, right? Interesting. And this is government. This is the head of gold. We have Satan ruling. He has deceived the whole world. The dragon gave him, it says in Revelation 13:2, the beast, his power and his throne and great authority. This is the first name. Now, hold your place there and let's go to 1 John 2. This is what we have to come out of. 1 John chapter 2, 15 to 17. Do not love the world or its system, Babylon, nor the things that are in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. How do you receive the love of the Father? You have to obey the first 3 commandments, correct? Because everything that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life is not from the Father, but is from the world. It's from Satan. And the world and its lust is passing away, but the one who does the will, that's why I brought you here, the will of God abides forever. That's why in Revelation 3, the saint's first name is the Father. We have to do the will of the Father, not your own will with Satan. Now, the great whore, her first name praises Babylon, this system. And we have to come out of that. Now, let's go to 2 Corinthians 6:15. It says, and what union does Christ have with Belial? Now that means worthless. Or what part does a believer have with an unbeliever? And what agreement is there between a temple of God and idols? So basically, God and this beast. What is it going to be? What is it going to be? What are you going to choose? For you are a temple of the living God, exactly as God said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. See, the great whore and the beast system has we the people, choosing for themselves what they want when they want it. Therefore, come out from the midst of them. That seems to be a theme, right? And be separate, says the Lord, and touch not the unclean, and I will receive you. Here's the beauty of it. And I shall be a father to you, and you shall be my sons and daughters, says the Lord Almighty. That's the counter to her first name, Babylon, that we have to come out of it. Now, how does this happen? Well, there is a process. Let's go back to Revelation and read there in 17 about the second name. Revelation 17, after Mystery Babylon the Great, we have the second name, the mother of the harlots. Now, God's second name in you is New Jerusalem, the mother of us all. Now, she's the great whore, and she has many harlots. We are told in Revelation 14 that we have to be virgins, the 144,000. Now, we don't give in to these false doctrines, and that we are to follow the Lamb wherever he goes. Now, you have to understand this. What day does this great whore and all her harlots, it's a smorgasbord. You want to pick to be a Baptist over here, we'll pick to be Presbyterian and hold your banner. Whatever it is, Satan there is laughing. They're all worshiping, paying homage to the Roman Catholic Church, who took the Sabbath day and did their own version of it and sanctified, they thought, Sunday, which is the first day of the week. It is the worship of the matrix that you have to come out of. And that's what they're doing. And we have the counter. Now, how do we come out of Babylon with this middle name? We keep the holy Sabbath, brethren. Let's go to the long version of that commandment. So the first name is the first three commandments, correct? The middle name, how we come out, is to keep the fourth commandment, the holy Sabbath of vision, which is a day of freedom. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 5, verses 12 to 15. Keep the Sabbath day, the day of freedom, to sanctify it. Keep holy, as the Lord your God has commanded you. Notice 6 days you shall labor and do all your work up and down a world that's cursed, right? Thorns and thistles, right? Okay, you got freedom. Come to Freedom Day. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it, that's sunset to sunset, you shall not do any work. You, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your ox, nor your donkey, nor any of your livestock, nor your stranger, I can say, nor your lawnmower man. It goes on, right? All those that you have control within your gates, so that your manservant and your maidservant may rest as well. I set you free. You're not going to work with me. I'm not going to be in the system of Babylon. And remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt. You were bought with a price, weren't you? And the Lord your God brought you out from there with a mighty hand. That's Jesus. And with an outstretched arm. That's Jesus's. Therefore, the Lord your God commanded you to what? To keep the Sabbath day. In other words, to keep the vision. Like it says in Colossians 3:2. Have your affection on things above. So the seventh day, man was made on 6. If you want to get to 7 and enter his kingdom, then you follow and keep the Sabbath day. And that's how we come out of Babylon. Now, if we go to the third name, let's go back to Revelation 17. And the third name, brethren, is the abomination of the earth. Now, how do you do that? That's your old man. Everyone is an abomination of the earth without God. We have to become a new creation. That's why our third name in Revelation 3 is when we marry Christ. It's our new name. Complete polar opposites, correct? So that's how you come out of it. You do the things to make your new creation powerful. And how do you do that? By doing God's works, by developing God's fruits. That's how you come out of Babylon. Now, with that said, let's go to 1 Corinthians 7. I'm going to read 22 to 23. For he who has been called in the Lord, though he be a slave, we're all there, right? The clutches of Satan, is a free man in the Lord. In the same way also, he who has been called as a free man is a slave of Christ. And what did he say? My yoke is easy. It's not the bondage of Satan. For you were bought with a price. Notice that. How big of a price was that? Do not become slaves of man. Now, if you go to chapter 6 at the end, verse 19, it says, what? Don't you know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, which you have within you from God, and you are not your own? For you were bought with a price, same language, notice, therefore glorify God in your body. And notice, in your spirit, there's another verse combining God's power with your spirit, which are God's. And what did Jesus say on the Sermon on the Mount? He said, let your light shine, right? That's not an abomination of the earth, right? That's lighting up where you are, representing heaven, which one day they'll see that shining, that brightness, and then they'll glorify your Father in heaven one day. That's the purpose. This is how you come out. Now, how do you shine? You do God's works. You do his majesty. You love one another. You have peace. So those three names are so important, and we continue. How do we put on the new creation and come out of Babylon? Let's go to Romans 6:4. Therefore, we were buried with him at baptism into the death, so that just as Christ was raised from the dead by the glory of the Father, in the same way, we also should walk in newness of life. So you want to know how to come out of Babylon? You walk in newness of life. On what? The narrow path. It heads towards the north. It has an exit door called Jesus. We walk towards New Jerusalem. For if we have been conjoined together in the likeness of his death, so also we shall be in the likeness of his resurrection. Knowing this, that our old man, the abomination of the earth, was co-crucified with him in order that the body of sin might be destroyed, so that we might no longer be enslaved to sin. Look at that. That's how we're free. The new creation. Now let's go to verse 12. Therefore, do not let sin rule in your mortal body. Oh, it can take control of you. By obeying it in the lust thereof. Likewise, do not yield your members, that's these things, the members, of instruments of unrighteousness to sin. Rather, yield yourselves to God as those who are alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness to God. For sin shall not rule over you, because you are not under law, notice, but under grace, which allows you to keep getting back up, practicing righteousness, correct? Satan, he doesn't show mercy. God does. And this is how we come out of that dreadful third six. It's 666 right there in our forehead. Those that have eyes, let them see. We have to come out of that system. So if you don't want the mark of the beast, you do what the sermon is saying, and you won't have the mark. Now that's powerful. And the question is, what do we do about it? What can we do now? Now, there's things we can do. We have to be wise. We have to not, as we know, the third name is what? It's commandments 5 through 10. What's the last commandment? It's like you just channel surfing. Here, you need this, you need that. Oh, if you had this, a brand new car. We are not to covet. And that's what the world does. And what happens when you covet? You build up your credit debt. How many people are paying 18 to 24% or higher? Now that's slavery, brethren. You have to be wise. Now, if you have debt now, you have to get out of it. That next year at this time, you're now more closer to it. It's like anything. Put off the weight that so easily besets you. You have to do this. Why? It says in Proverbs 22:7, listen up. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is a servant to the lender. Who owns all the credit card companies? Babylon. They're smart. They're like serpents. They've been doing this system a long time, as we mentioned. So we have to come out of Babylon. Now, let's go to Romans 13 to end it. And I'm going to read verses 5 to 8. Consequently, it is necessary to be subject to authority. As Jesus said, we got to live in the world, but not be a part of it. Not only because of wrath, but also because of conscience. For this cause, you are also obligated to pay tribute. You got to pay your taxes. For they are servants of God, continually engaged in this very thing. Therefore, render to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. Now, the last verse. Do not be indebted to anyone for anything, unless it is to love one another. For the one who loves another has fulfilled the law. And that's the key. The only way is to first come out of Babylon, do the will of God. Number 2, be focused on your mother in heaven, which is New Jerusalem. That's our destiny. It's our middle name, not on the mother of harlots, her middle name. So we can't give in to these Sunday ice cream scoops, so to speak, and indulge. You should see it. If something is off, you should see it. If you look at the scale, so to speak, in any sin, if you see it's off, those are thermometers. If you do nothing about it, then you could experience the plagues written in this book because you're left behind. Then lastly, put on the new creation. The new creation will what? It will love. It will love the brethren, which will show God that you will love him who's invisible. This is how you come out of Babylon. Remember, Jesus came out of Babylon. Isn't that encouraging? He showed all the apostles how to come out of Babylon. We are in the end times right now, and it's about to start the peace of the man of sin, which is very deceiving. It is during this time that you have to listen to sermons like this and perform, because there'll come a time when it's too late. Brethren, come out of Babylon.